Okay, we're back. We're away from that keyboard. We got our theory out of the way. A major chord is a 1, 3, 5. Minor chord tonality is a flat third. I showed you that half step move on the keyboard, and I just kind of slid off the flat to the whole note, and it just gives it that kind of a bluesy or jazzy feel. We're going to be working in the key of A, and just for review, the 1, the 4, and the 5 chords in the key of A in the open position are the A naturally. The 4 is the D, the 5 is the E, and back to the A. So that's the 1, 4, and 5. We can play them like that. In a previous video on YouTube, I talked about, I think it was jazzing up Key to the Highway. It's an old blues song. I talked about jazzing it up by moving to some triads or 3-note chords to a different position. That might have been in the key of G, but today we're going to be in the key of A for this rest of this lesson. So at the 5th fret, at the 2nd dot, I'm just going to outline the major scale in A. And right next door on the 5th string root is the 4, which is the D. Back to the A. If I move to the 7th position on the 5th string, I'm rooted on the 5th string, that's my E. If I go back up to the 5th position on the 5th string, that's the D. And then back to the 5th position on the 6th string is the A, or the root, the 1 chord. I just outlined the major tones on the major scale for the 1, the 4, and the 5. Well, today what I want to do, and what I've done in the past, is I've used a triad that I like right here at the 5th position. And there's 2 shapes. One shape looks like a little bar chord right at the 5th. I'm going across the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Only the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings will really be in play on this. But if you bar that down and just strum them either with the pick or with your hand, that describes a minor, A minor at the 5th position. If I do that little half step change from a flat to a whole tone on the 3rd, that's going to be my whole tone for the 3rd. Here's the flat 3rd. Let's see how that sounds when I do a little strum against it. All I'm doing is I'm holding that little bar across the 5th strings, or at the 5th position, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Flat, that's an A minor. A7 is what most people would call this. It's just a triad with 3 tones. Okay, I've described that in a previous lesson, but we need it for foundation for this lesson. The other shape looks like a D7, but it's rooted on the 5th string at the 5th fret. So you're going to make a shape that looks like a D7, but it's going to be rooted on the 5th string at the 5th fret. The 5th string by itself, that describes the D tone, that's the 1. When I make this whole D7 shape, it describes a D7 triad at that position. Well, it has the same major to minor move that I can use on the 1, and it's your 2nd finger that you're in this position. It's going to be your pointing finger. It's going to be on the 4th string at the 4th fret. But what we're going to do is slide from the 3rd fret to the 4th on the 4th string. We're just getting a little major to minor motion movement to spice up your chord strumming a little bit. Back to the 1, it's that little bar shape. Okay, that was the 1 and the 4. To finish out a blues or a jazzy simple turnaround, we'd go to the 5th, which is the E. It's the same D7 shape, but now we're going to move it up 2 frets to the 7th position on the 5th string. That's an E7 sound. Triad. Drop it 2 positions down to the 5th position on the 5th string. That's the D7. Then back to the 1. I'm just strumming those 3 strings, 2, 3, and 4. I'm blocking it a little bit to give it a chop sound. And I'm using the butt of my right hand on the bridge, muting it. You can spice it up with some extensions on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string. That's a whole nother lesson, but you've seen chords described as 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th. Those extensions are just the notes above that 7th. So when I'm laying my finger down here or on the 2nd string, you might want to experiment with some of those tones, but back to the root. So that's a nice combination of chords. We could stop the video right there, but the reason I wanted to bring this fretboard up tight was not only review those triads that I've gone over in the past, but I also wanted to introduce you to another triad position I've been experimenting with lately. A lot of times I play on my own without a bass player. A lot of times it's just on an acoustic guitar or on the electric guitar by myself. So I like to create a little bit of texture by using the lower strings to complement some bass motion. And I can make that same major minor motion with the bottom 3 strings, the 6, the 5, and the 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe a shape. It's going to be a little different. It's not really a cage shape or a shape that looks similar to some other bar chords, but you're going to basically be using all 4 fingers in your fretting hand. And if you start with your pinky and put it at the 5th fret on the 6th string, that's my root. This is an A position triad again. I'm going to take my ring finger and I'm going to put it on the 4th fret of the 5th string. I have 2 fingers down right now. I'm covering the 6th and the 5th string. I'm going to skip my middle finger for now, and I'm going to use my pointing finger, and I'm going to go up to the 4th string on the 2nd fret. It's a bit of a stretch, so you might want to practice this. And if it's new to you, take frequent breaks. You don't want your hand to cramp up or hurt your hand nerve-wise by making this funny position. But I have my pointing finger on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, or 4th string, excuse me. I have my ring finger on the 4th fret of the 5th string, and I have my pinky finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string. So I'm just going to strum that. It's a little bit muted and it's a little bit in the mix. People would say it's a little bit muddy because it's the bottom strings and I'm strumming them. But the thing I like about this position is this is an A triad, similar in a different position, but similar to what I just described to you. Well, this ring finger, the reason I had you hold the shape like this ring finger, if you take your middle finger and set it down at the 3rd fret on the 5th string, and then hammer on your ring finger at the 4th on the 5th string, you get this sound. Should sound familiar because it's the minor to major tonality of the 3rd, going from a minor 3rd to a major 3rd, or a flat 3rd to a 3rd. Has a nice sound to it. Okay, that's the A. What I want to describe by taking that whole shape 1 string over and rooting your pinky finger on the 5th fret of the 5th string. You have to bear with me because it's hard to describe this shape. Pinky finger goes on the 5th fret on the 5th string. The ring finger goes on the 4th fret on the 4th string. And the pointing finger goes on the 3rd string at the 2nd fret. That's my D sound. And again, the reason I want you to hold the shape like this is the middle finger, if I place it down right above the ring finger and I hammer on, I'm holding down on the 3rd fret on the 4th string, and I'm going to hammer on with my ring finger. I'm describing that major minor tonality again. Okay, so I described the A, it's rooted on the 6th string. I described the D, it's rooted on the 5th string. If we can hold this shape, and again it's awkward, you might have to build up to it. If we move this whole shape up to so that the pinky's rooted on the 7th fret of the 5th string, lay the ring finger down on the 6th fret of the 4th string, and then the pointing finger is on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. That describes my E. If I slide it up, the whole step, slide it up towards the nut, I'm rooted with my pinky finger on the D. Now I'm making a D shape or a D sound. Then if I bring it one set of strings over on the 6 and have it rooted on the 6, that's my A shape. So why am I taking so much time to describe that shape and then use it against that other shape? When you're playing by yourself, it's nice to have some options to move away from the same area. A beginning guitar player might play the A in open position. Nothing wrong with that. I like that sound. Go to the 4 or the D. Back to the 1 or the A. And then to make the turnaround, they go to the E, into the D. I'm giving it a little motion by laying down the sus on the A, but if you didn't do that, it would just A, D, E, A. Doesn't have a lot of motion. If you go right up to the 5th position and make that little mini bar, you get a different sound. You're in a different octave or register on the guitar. You can play them against each other if you want. Then you go to the, again, I'm at the 5th fret. You go to that D7 shape to make your D. You go up 2 frets to the 7th fret to make the E shape. And then back to the A. Well, now with this other triad that I've introduced you that's a little awkward to play because it's a bit of a stretch, you can introduce a bass line to help give your music a little more texture. And this is what I want to describe to you here. I'm just going to go through this quickly on this acoustic guitar, and then we're going to finish on an electric guitar with a little bass track, or with a little drum track in the back, so you can see how you can really give your music a little bit of texture. So without any real pace or time signature or beats per minute or anything, I'm just going to start to introduce this this motion of this lower triad. So that's an A. I'm not holding the position of the shape that I described, this triad on the bottom 3 strings. I'm just plucking the bottom 2 notes and then the minor, major third to the root. I'm just giving myself a little bit of accompaniment that I can introduce against my higher register or higher octave guitar part. Just makes it more interesting. Once you get those down, if you like, you can always use them. I like to use either the Mixolydian or the major scale or the minor pentatonic in that space. It works pretty good. That's the minor pentatonic. So anyway, we reviewed a little bit of theory, talked about that major minor move. It's the flat third to the third. It goes from a minor sound to a major sound. Just that little motion can spice up your playing a little bit to give it a jazzy or a bluesier sound. That's at the fifth position. I described one with the pinky. It's a bit of a stretch. The part I like to use is just the major to minor, or minor to major move to the root. Okay, let's wrap it up with the acoustic guitar. We'll take it back and finish it out with a little jam on the electric guitar with some complementary drum. We'll see how it sounds. Thanks a lot. Give me a minute to switch over.